What's going on, guys? John the Video Guy here. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about video, design, and career building. Now in today's video, I'm going to be talking about something probably the second most asked question in the world next to what is the meaning of life, and that's, should I go to college? So to answer this, I'm not going to pretend that I have all the answers, but I'm going to be telling my story on why I didn't go to college and exactly what happens and how I feel about not going to college. And just a disclaimer, guys, I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing my story. Everyone's journey and path is different, so you know yourself better than most people. Hopefully. I think I know myself better than most people. But just take this as, I guess, one person's perspective of not going to college. So before we get started, feel free to hit the like button. It really helps my channel out. And consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. I post mostly about video and design, but I also post stuff like this about career building. I post twice a week on a Monday and a Thursday. So with that, let's dive into this video. Okay, so the first thing about college is you kind of have to decide whether you're going to go or not. That's kind of like the first step. And if you're in this situation, this is where you'll want to begin, is deciding whether to go to college or not to go to college. And for me, this was during high school, during 10th, 11th grade, kind of deciding, should I go to college, should I not go to college? And the first thing you have to ask yourself, that I asked myself back then, is where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What do you want to learn? And, when you kind of think about it, where are you now, point A, and where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? What do you want to do is point B. And once you distinguish where you are today and where you want to be, you got to figure out what are the different ways to get there. And college might be one of those ways, but it's not the only way. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, if anything, from this video, is just know there are several different ways and different career paths that you can go to get from point A to point B. So what are the other options other than going to college? Well, there's actually a lot out there. And, the way we're learning and the way society sees experience and, how you stand out in the workforce is changing. So there's a lot of different options out there. Not only college, but there's online workshops, online courses, there's tutorials if you're into video and design and you're watching this. A lot are free and a lot are a lot cheaper than college, but there's a lot more ways to learn the trade that you want to learn and get into. So why didn't I go? So to just give you a little bit of background, I went to high school, and while I was in high school, I went to vocational school. And when I was there, I learned a lot about the trade for video production, graphic design, and really what I wanted to go into. And a lot of ourselves were asking ourselves, should we go to college? Do we need to? And that was really the biggest question. Do you need to go to college for film and video? And I actually interviewed someone that worked in the industry, and he flat out said, no, you don't need to go to college. And I believed him, and really the thesis behind it was it's really about networking. It's who you know and getting referrals to move up in the video or film industry. So that's my decision. I'm not saying it was the best decision, but that is the one I went with. I rolled the dice and didn't go to college and relied on my network to get a job and enter into the field. All right, so next, what happens once you decide not to go to college? The first thing is family reactions. So if you decide not to go to college, you can expect a lot of different reactions from your family or close friends. Because, not going to college is still being kind of looked down on. It's kind of like a shocking decision because most people kind of assume that you would go to college, especially if you're just in a normal area in America. It's kind of accepted to just like most people just go to college. That's commonly the next step. And, a lot of people kind of have different reactions once you decide not to go to college. So dealing with family and friend reactions is tough. When it comes to family, luckily for me, my parents were really supportive of me not going to college. They believed in my skill set and knew that I had the skills to break into the industry, or at least they thought. I hope I did. I think I do. But, they were very supportive in my decision. And, there's also other family relatives, my aunts and uncles, they weren't really on board as much. They had a hard time, seeing the possibility of not going to college. They always thought, that's the way you go to college, you get a job. So there's going to be mixed reactions with friends and family, and you just got to be prepared and stand your ground. And, like I said earlier in this video, you know yourself better than most others. So you just have to go what you think on the inside and just trust yourself. All right, so what happens after you get over the reactions and, everyone knows you're not going to college? Well, you have to find a job, or at least you have to learn your craft if you haven't learned what you want to do. So the first step is really just building that out, take online courses, go read books, do all the options that you found out before to learn the craft and get good at it. And probably in this stage, the best thing is just to practice. So really, when I graduated high school and I didn't go to college, that summer I did a lot of freelance film projects. I did a lot of different video projects, a lot of short films and stuff, and got a lot of different hands-on experience, really learning more about the camera, more about the filmmaking process in general. And it really helped me later on in my career, getting that hands-on experience and practice. Just be resilient, be patient, and just gain as much experience and practice as you can to develop your craft and learn as much as possible. All right, so next I want to talk about how do you land that full-time job. And fortunately for me, I had an opportunity at the end of my high school year. It was May of 2015. I actually interned with the place I work with now. And it was basically 1 month with them. And at the end of it, they offered me a part-time job. It was like 10 hours a week. And I really grew from there. And I think when I look back at it on how I started as an intern and how I advanced and eventually became full-time, there's really a process that's pretty much the same, pretty much across any industry. So even if you're not in video or design, I think this really works anywhere. And it really starts like this. And I can't really remember where I heard this first from, but I think it was The Future. I'll link their YouTube channel down below, a really great resource. But the first thing you want to know is be known or get known. So whether you want to start your own business or you want to work for a company, you have to be known first. And this really goes back to the practicing side. You need to practice and build up your name essentially. You need to be known for what you do. And once you're known, whoever you want to work with or your clients or customers need to start to like you. And once they like you, they begin to trust you. So for me and my process, I interned with Rock the House, so they got to know me. And after my internship, they liked me, so they hired me as a part-time employee. And after a while and getting more responsibilities, they started to trust me. So it's really working on that framework. You have to be known first. You have to find people that eventually like you, and then you have to build trust. And trust me, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of work and a lot of patience. And I honestly think this framework works. And fortunately for me, it has worked out to where I became full-time. I became the full-time graphic designer within about 1.5 years after my internship. And ever since then, I've now grown as a manager, as a creative services director. And now I'm overseeing other interns that come in and different video editors. So it has been a journey, and it's been a long journey. And there's a lot of trust. There's a lot of, things to learn along the way, especially when you don't go to college. All right, so let's talk about what are the long-term side effects of not going to college. And these things are real. So the first thing is imposter syndrome. And I think this can go for any industry, but I think it's more magnified in film and entertainment, or really in video production, because there's always going to be a lot of people that are better than you, that are more advanced in their careers, or there's always the group that went to college and the people that didn't go to college. So you always have to think to yourself, you might not be as good as them, but one day you might be as good as them. And I think really when it comes down to careers and developing, there's always going to be someone better than you, and there's always going to be somebody with a little less experience than you. And just realizing that, I think, really helps, you know. So that's how I deal with it. You know, I always strive to be better. You know, as I say sometimes, I'm only as good as my last video, which is true with this YouTube channel. So, you know, you can always get better, and honestly, that's how I deal with imposter syndrome. But sometimes it does get to me. You know, I think to myself, you know, I just have it in the back of my mind that I'll never be as good as people that went to college. And that feeling is real. You know, you just have to kind of learn how to deal with it and find other ways to learn and gain experience and develop in your career. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about in this video about not going to college, I realized that I kind of thought when I was planning on, you know, should I go to college? Should I not go to college? Is you're always learning. You know, learning doesn't end when you leave college. And I definitely found this out, you know, when I entered into my career and started doing more video editing stuff. And for me, I'm in a really progressive industry where it's rapidly evolving and changing. There's always new plugins, new effects, new software coming out. And really, even if I went to college, I'd still be learning all the new things that are coming out in my lifetime. And I think back then when I was deciding whether to go to college or not, I didn't really think about this. And this is something I want to bestow on you if you're deciding whether to go to college or not, is that, you know, the learning doesn't end after college. And, you know, things are always advancing, and there's always new things to learn even after college, or even when you don't go to college. So that has been eye-opening to me, because I think we often think, you know, once we receive our diploma or that piece of paper that we're good, that's all we have to do, let's start my career. And it doesn't really work like that. Life and careers are kind of like a marathon. It's not a sprint, and it's a journey, and you grow and you learn, and it basically rinse and repeat. You grow and you learn. So, you know, it doesn't end with college, and it always continues evolving. And the last thing I'll end with, which is pretty much an obvious, but, you know, I'll just say it just so I can say it, is, you know, if you don't go to college, you won't take on a lot of student loan debt. And this is probably one of the biggest things to consider, whether you should go to college or not, is taking on debt. Now, you know, if you're in high school thinking about going to college, I highly recommend trying to get scholarships or grants. This is free money that you use. And if you take on debt at a young age, it can really hamper your life. You know, for me, fortunately, I was able to stay at home when I didn't go to college, and I was able to save and purchase my first home at age 22. And it's almost unheard of, purchasing a home at such a young age. And, you know, I just want to show you guys that this is possible, that you can have and be financially well by not going to college. There are still opportunities out there in the workplace, and college, like I said earlier, is just an option. And, you know, it's not worth probably the money that most people are paying for. So I just wanted to say that. So that's my take when it comes to debt. I'm very fortunate that I don't have any student loan debt. So there you have it, guys. That's my thoughts on not going to college and what happens when you don't go to college. So at least that's what happens to me. Feel free to research more if you're in the decision making. This is just, as I said earlier, one person's opinion, but that's my take on college and not going to college. So with that, guys, if you want to learn more about different career things, or if you're into video and design, I actually put a playlist together all about career building. I'll link it up here. Feel free to go check that out. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.